Welcome back to the further adventures of the monad. In the last presentation, we looked at the author of Hylozoics, Henry Laurency. Today, I wish to look more closely at the system of Hylozoics itself. Hylozoics is attributed to the Greek philosopher Pythagoras. Laurency tells us that Pythagoras, although Greek, spent some time studying in Egypt. There was a very good reason for this. As a result of the antiquity of the civilization found in Egypt, there remained there a body of esoteric knowledge that those seeking the truth could gain access to. This was dependent on the guardians of that knowledge considering the seeker to be ready for that knowledge. Pythagoras was not some country bumpkin visiting the bright lights. The adepts in Egypt would immediately have recognized that the person standing before them was a very high adept himself. Pythagoras visited several other countries as well, acquiring knowledge there. At the time, Pythagoras was a 46 self, and so he would know where the networks were that he needed to plug into to gather any information that would be useful for him to continue his mission in life. These travels and the studies that they entailed were not just done out of curiosity. Pythagoras knew that he was incarnated to bring about a sea change in the way humanity was able to think. Knowledge systems that currently existed in all the advanced centers of learning on the planet were focused through the emotional envelope. This was also the way knowledge was communicated in the fourth root race, otherwise known as the Atlantian civilization. What Pythagoras was doing was examining the various systems of knowledge currently available to students of the ancient wisdom and seeing how they gelled with the national character of the civilizations they were embedded in. There is no use in propagating knowledge in a format that the target audience is completely unable to assimilate. In reality, when it comes to esoteric knowledge, the target audience is very small anyway. However, when a body of knowledge begins to circulate within a community of disciples that are currently incarnated, they, through their talents, bring that knowledge forth as culture. We see this in the flourishing of religious myths in Egypt and Chaldea. We also see it in the mastery of sculpture in Greece, along with poetry, plays, and philosophical thought. What Pythagoras was looking for was a way to convey esoteric information that chimed with the Greek focus on mental rather than emotional thought. Although Pythagoras founded a mystery school, he also released into society a body of knowledge that laid the foundation for scientific and philosophical thought that would go on to form the bedrock of Western civilization. The result of Pythagoras' efforts was to formulate a system of esoteric thought that was quite different from anything that had gone before. Previous manifestations of esoteric principles were rooted in symbolism. Pythagoras presented formulations that were rooted in reality concepts instead. This led to the foundation of the principles of Hylozoics, which he described as spiritual materialism. If you looked at the Hindu tradition, for instance, we have presented an opposition of spirit and matter. Pythagoras did away with this opposition, clarifying that spirit is the same as consciousness found in matter. This laid the foundations for research and scientific treatment of esoterics. Pythagoras can rightly claim the title of being the first scientist in the Western sense. The prevailing ideologies afforded no knowledge of reality. Everything was couched in a subjective manner. The current state of most human knowledge, Laurency tells us, consists of guesswork, which he describes as fiction. The knowledge of reality found through the study of esoteric principles has, through time, been accessible only to secret knowledge orders. The reason for this is that esoteric knowledge confers power to those that possess it. Unless they are bound by the highest principles of the common good, power can too easily be abused. Esoteric knowledge contains facts that can only be ascertained by a monad when it has expanded its consciousness to be able to enter the fifth kingdom of nature. This is known as the kingdom of knowledge. Things, however, changed in 1875, when the hierarchy allowed certain information to be made available outside the confines of secret knowledge orders. This potentially made it accessible to all those who sought it. This knowledge made its way out into society through systems of teaching such as Theosophy, Anthroposophy, and many Rosicrucian sects. The systems taught by these organizations are vague and lack clarity. Hylozoics is the only system available today that clarifies that all existence has three fundamental aspects. I describe these in presentations as the Holy Trinity. We know this Trinity to be indissoluble and inseparable, comprising the aspects of matter, motion, which is energy, and consciousness. Without the appreciation of this one fundamental fact, the basis of all knowledge is incorrect. Let us be clear in our minds. Hylozoics is not a creation by humanity, but by a member of the planetary hierarchy. This individual had attained the fifth kingdom and become a 46th self. Laurency calls such an individual an essential self. As I prefer to use the term unity consciousness, settling on a number 46 avoids all arguments. Laurency informs us, and this is repeated in other literature, that Pythagoras is the immediate successor to the current world teacher, head of the second ray, Christ Maitreya. The second ray focuses on consciousness development, and the most obvious example of this is teaching. Pythagoras was laying the foundation for the scientific examination of reality, and this led to the development of technology. Pythagorean Hylozoics is a mathematical system, not a system of thought in the usual sense. It is a mathematical description of reality. Laurency describes Pythagorean Hylozoics as a system that allows the student a scheme of orientation. This affords sufficient knowledge of reality and life to liberate humanity from its disorientating ideologies, illusions, and fictions. Hylozoics is a mental system that provides a vision of nature, giving its meaning and affording the student a goal for existence. It is the basis of Western thought, which provides an exact conception of reality. As discussed earlier, Hylozoics liberates us from reams of Oriental symbolism. The Oriental system is designed to train intuition. Hylozoics allows the student to acquire causal intuition via perspective and system or universal thinking. These are the two highest forms of thinking a monad passing through the fourth kingdom of nature can acquire. Hylozoics also allows the student to acquire essential, in brackets 46, intuition through collective consciousness. This occurs via telepathy. When studying Hylozoics, it is useful to standardize the terminology used. We often use the term esoterics. What exactly do we mean by this? Esoterics is a worldview and a life view that is based exclusively on facts received from the planetary hierarchy. The information does not come from the Pleiades or some discarnate entity with an exotic-sounding name. It also does not come from someone who claims to be in contact with some named master. The information shared stands on its own merit. Laurency tells us that we have the right to call ourselves esotericists once we have mastered Hylozoics to the extent that we can demonstrate its absolute superiority to all other working hypotheses. He also suggests that the use of mathematical designations for unknown and incomprehensible realities, and here he means all planes of matter and worlds above 46, is preferable to the use of words. During the course of previous presentations, 49 planes of matter have been delineated precisely. This is much easier to assimilate than incomprehensible Sanskrit terms. We have given names to the worlds found on the first and the second triads. This has allowed us to form an idea of the physical, emotional, mental, causal, and essential (in brackets unity) worlds. Hylozoics does not describe reality beyond this, but if you have been paying attention, this course of presentations has gone and described worlds all the way up to plane 43 and given them names. I beg Laurency's forgiveness. Laurency bases his judgment on these matters by stating that when things fall within the range of human life and experience, they can be observed and analyzed. It is then and only then that words should be used as designations. As stated before, Laurency suggests that in all other cases it is enough to clarify increasing consciousness and energetic levels by referring to how one mathematical designation compares with another. I wish to leave it there for today. In the next presentation, we will continue to look at what Hylozoics is all about. We start next time by looking at how the terms used in Hylozoics differ from other schools of thought. This is crucial when a student comes from one system, such as Theosophy or the Arcane School, to Hylozoics. Thank you.